What if all you've been told is true? Concerning aging is incorrect. What if the stiffness, exhaustion, and deteriorating health that medical professionals disregard as typical aging include actually, I could have avoided it at age 94. Life without taking any medications at all. My autonomy and possess the biological signs of a person who is 30 years younger than two. My doctor was taken aback years ago during my yearly examination when my test findings displayed a person's health profile when he asked me for my age, which was their 60s. I divulged the 5 easy morning routines that I've adhered to religiously. These haven't been complex for decades. Medical procedures or costly therapies are simple techniques that support your body's organic rhythms, and anyone can begin putting them into practice tomorrow morning. While friends half my age have difficulties with daily prescription drugs and require help with simple chores, I keep living totally and on their own. The startling thing is that the third habit only requires 4 minutes every day. However, 92% of seniors avoid it entirely. On this one, the most significant expenditure they incurred was monitoring. Chance to maintain their cognitive damage to mental acuity and function is not instantly apparent, which is precisely the reason why so many people disregard it. These 5 practices will help you avoid problems later. Are more than just ways to feel better. They're about preserving your autonomy, maintaining your honor, and making sure that the years in your older years are full of vigor rather than diminishing. The distinction between aging well and it's common to struggle through each day. Down to your first hour's activities following a strategic morning wake-up. Hydration is the basis for cellular well-being. Each night as you sleep, the body expels roughly 1 liter of water by means of natural respiration and sweating. But the majority of seniors awaken and quickly get a cup of coffee or tea or other drinks that exacerbate their apparent dehydration, and benign error triggers a series of issues that impact everything from joint mobility to cognitive function, and it is entirely avoidable with a straightforward 30-second morning routine. The relationship between dehydration in the morning and rapid aging is significant and scientifically verified. Investigators at Johns Hopkins Medicine found that dehydration, even minor, impairs brain function by 27% and rises 31% reduction in adult inflammatory markers over 65. This is beyond sentimentality. It's about your body's thirst. Essential capacity to operate best. When you begin your day in a dehydrated condition, you're basically making all of your body's systems less functional. As soon as you awaken, think about an 82-year-old woman named Eleanor endured from frequent headaches and lightheadedness for years. Her physicians prescribed a number of therapies and drugs, but nothing gave long-lasting alleviation. The innovation appeared once she learnt that the primary cause was dehydration in the morning. Of her symptoms, in a matter of weeks after drinking enough water in the morning, her energy and headaches vanished. Enhanced, and her general standard of living drastically changed. The morning's physiological effects. Dehydration is far more than only discomfort brought on by dehydration. Your joint synovial fluid turns into thickening and becoming more viscous, wear and friction with each motion. This immediately adds to the morning rigidity that many elderly people tolerate as unavoidable. At the same time, your brain cells need to be properly hydrated in order to preserve electrical conductivity and effectively eliminate the metabolic waste it builds up when you're asleep. Without proper water in the morning, these harmful byproducts last longer in brain tissue, adding to the mental haze that clouded the mornings of a lot of folks and possibly speeding up in the long run. The remedy for cognitive deterioration is incredibly easy, but the timing and techniques are essential for maximizing efficiency. Prior to bedtime, for each, make a 16-ounce glass of rum at night. Water's temperature using a little. Put a pinch of natural salt on your nightstand, so it's what you do first. Drink this whole thing when you wake up. Glass as soon as you wake up, before coffee, tea, or breakfast. In the room temperature matters because it can be absorbed by the body faster than the little quantity of salt, and cold water aids in cellular absorption by use of osmotic balancing is a process that isn't about increasing water intake. However, throughout the day, that's unquestionably advantageous. The particular benefit arises from breaking your nighttime dehydration right before adding any more chemicals that could make it difficult for those who initially dislike simple water early in the morning. With a tiny fresh lemon squeeze is fine, but steer clear of any additives or sweets that might cause insulin reactions and disrupt your morning metabolism. Procedures that this habit's effects are both instantaneous and accumulated within. Nowadays, most people observe decreased joint rigidity and enhanced mental acuity within weeks. The advantages frequently include improved digestion, more consistent energy levels, and even increased skin suppleness as the level of moisture in the body normalizes with the habit I've kept up faithfully for almost 2 decades, and it changed the way I spent my morning when I began it at 75 years old, and your cells are now dehydrated. Don't allow another the morning goes by without providing them with what they are in dire need of: circadian alignment. Exposure to sunshine that resets your body has an internal clock, a complex biological clock mechanism that controls everything, even hormones' immunological function, and it can be totally upended by failing to attend one. Stanford's crucial morning window. The university's Sleep Sciences Center has verified that only 10 to 15 minutes of exposure to sunshine in the early resets increases serotonin and circadian rhythms production in elderly persons by 42%, although according to a University of Colorado study, I'm missing this important morning light window raises the chance of depression by 69%. Can interfere with sleep cycles in only the science underlying this these days is both intriguing and useful. Early in the morning, certain wavelengths are present in sunlight, which activate certain receptors in melanopsin receptors found in your retina. After that, these receptors transmit signals to the main clock of your, which is situated in the hypothalamus, which establishes numerous biological mechanisms at work. This exact timing of light exposure impacts the body's ability to produce hormones, temperature control of digestive enzymes released, together with more than 150 other body procedures that assess how well you feel and perform all day long. A 78-year-old man named Robert had been having trouble sleeping, and taking medicine for years was his remedy. Seems straightforward. He went for daily walks for fresh air and exercise, but he was strolling in the afternoon, not even realizing that early light exposure has essentially changed physiological impacts as opposed to the light received afterwards. When he moved his strolls in the morning, within 30 after waking for a few minutes, he managed to stop taking his sleeping pills completely. His change serves as an example of how sometimes timing is more crucial than the activities itself. Without a good morning, your brain keeps being exposed to light, generating more melatonin than it should be, causing a detrimental cycle of poverty, sleep, exacerbated inflammation, and hastened aging. This disturbance impacts far more than just your ability to rest at night to maintain your circadian rhythm. Impacts the regulation of blood pressure, immune system operation, as well as how well your body breaks down nutrients. Derived from studies on food from Northwestern University has shown that elderly people with irregular circadian rhythms exhibit quantifiably higher rates of cognitive decline and muscular atrophy in contrast to those who uphold steady everyday routines. The use of this habit is simple, but it needs continuity and appropriate technique. 30 minutes after waking up, outside, and spend 10 to 15 minutes in the outdoors. Dawn light, even on overcast days. A crucial element that many people overlook is to not wear sunglasses or glasses. Contacts during this exposure, if conceivable as plastic and glass, filter out some of the particular wavelengths of light required for the light. Circadian reset must come in via your eyes in order to be successful. Skin exposure by itself won't. Your internal clock should be reset if the weather completely avoids exposure to the outdoors. Sitting close to a window offers some advantage, but it's about half as much more efficient than direct outdoor lighting for people that reside in very northern areas that receive little winter sunshine. A medical-grade light therapy box was created, especially for the regulation of the circadian rhythm. Can be a useful alternative. However, natural light is still better when accessible. The advantages of this behavior compound over time, producing more steady cycles of sleep and wakefulness that assist all facets of your health. In a week of steady morning light exposure, the majority of seniors say they fall more effortlessly, falling asleep and waking up renewed in a month with a lot of experience. Enhancements in mood, vitality, and regularity of digestion as their internal clocks help to maintain the internal. The clock awaits the morning of tomorrow. Make sure you don't miss the light signal. This crucial period. Once more, the 4-minute routine protection through cognitive priming. Your ability to think clearly each morning. Your about 30,000 neurons are lost in the brain. Relationships. Unless you take taking action to stop this loss isn't a scare technique or exaggeration. It's founded on reliable neurological research investigating aging adults' brain plasticity. The astounding finding is that a basic 4-minute morning ritual is insufficient. Merely stop this loss, but in reality, nevertheless, 92% of seniors fully reverse it. Ignore this chance to miss the most crucial window for neuroscientists who study cognitive preservation. Harvard Medical School has found that cognitive priming exercises carried out right after waking causes a 37% increase in neuroplasticity and enhance executive function all day, starting in the early hours of the morning. The hours are a special and precious brain opportunity training due to the fact that your neural networks are at their most flexible right now. Just like you shift from slumber to waking, this increased flexibility is brought about by higher concentrations of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF, is frequently referred to as miraculous growth for brain cells that reaches its maximum soon after waking up and gradually decreases all day long. Margaret, and an 86-year-old woman, showed the strength of this idea while she was recuperating following hip replacement surgery. But her physical therapy was put on hold while during her recuperation, she kept her cognitive routine in the morning despite the time frame at high risk for cognitive deterioration that frequently follows major surgery, and decreased engagement in senior citizens' mental function stayed even and crisp. Enhanced her experience while she was recovering. Demonstrates how cognitive exercises can keep the brain functioning even when physically taxing. Times the harm from missing mornings. A cumulative deficit is produced via activation that hastens the deterioration of cognitive abilities and raises the risk of dementia by 29%, according to long-term research from the National Institute on Aging. Is a vital chance to make use of the adaptability of your brain systems that either favorably through intentional activation or adversely through passive actions that don't encourage the sneaky development of neurons. The damaged nature is that it isn't instantly noticeable, which is exactly why so many elderly people disregard this practice until mental shifts become discernible, at which point important already neuronal connections have been lost. The 4 to 4 morning is the answer. Attempt to solve a single, easy maths issue. Remember one specific memory in detail. Acquire 4 fresh vocabulary and picture your entire day. In a total of 4 minutes, this exact combination stimulates several brain regions. Areas concurrently producing what connectivity is what neuroscientists refer to as enhances general cognitive resilience. Your logical thinking is activated by the maths issue. Memory recall and thinking centers makes hippocampus network stronger, vital for storing information. Learning vocabulary improves language skills. Centers and visualization activities. Aspects of executive function and planning in the particular prefrontal cortex in the 4-minute time frame is derived from studies demonstrating that momentary high-level cognitive engagement works better than longer passive methods. To put this into practice efficiently, have your materials ready, that the night before this could involve a maths test issue with a recollection from a book or app prompt like remember your 30th birthday in detail, 4 new words. Terms that have definitions, and a straightforward visualization practice in which you go over your schedule. The day's activities include the cognitive. This habit offers protection that is both instantaneous and accumulative. In a matter of hours, practitioners report better mental health clarity and more astute judgment skills. In regular weeks, better word recall is reported by participants and boosted self-assurance in their cognitive capacities. In a few of months, the habit produces quantifiable gains in cognitive reserve, the capacity of the brain to make up for changes brought on by aging. Or I have engaged in this habit despite minor injuries since the age of 70 and greatly credited for maintaining my mental clarity at 94. The neuronal connections in your brain develop or vanish with the decisions made each morning. You're reinforcing them tomorrow, I'm sure. Movement of the strategic mobility sequence that benefits most seniors rather than hurts them. Unintentionally undermine their independence by continuing the antiquated morning routine. Recommendations that genuinely improve joint harm to anyone beyond 70 years old. Stretching exercises were created for younger bodies and are capable of actively detrimental to aging tissues and joints. Mayo Clinic research reveals a striking contrast. While doing the incorrect, inflammation is increased by early movements by 31% within the intended 7-minute mobility sequence. Lessens discomfort and stiffness in just 2 weeks by 44%. The reason for this striking disparity is connective tissue that ages needs are essentially distinct method of movement that honors its altered biological characteristics. After 70 years of age, collagen fibers lose moisture content and more interconnected, which means they require gradual warming that is mild instead of the forceful stretching frequently suggested in fitness publications or videos aimed at younger adults. Stretching it out is the prevailing wisdom. Can actually cause minor harm in Elderly people speeding up the very joint issues you're attempting to avoid. Thomas, an 85-year-old guy, offers as strong as an illustration of this idea. He had been carefully adhering to a stretching habit from his 50s without realizing it was causing his mobility to deteriorate and his growing requirement to use a walker when he supplanted his detrimental morning ritual using the tactical order. I'll explain how he managed to undo his reliance on the walker and recover his functional independence. Transformation demonstrates how the appropriate function can be restored by movements, while the improper ones frequently hasten deterioration. Stretches in the morning, such as toe touches and neck rolls, produce a lot of micro-harm in elderly people. In the future, bends put too much strain on the spine. Discs that are dehydrated already as people age, but quick neck motions can hinder the flow of blood via the vertebral vessels that are usually constricted in even elderly people who appear to be gentle. Sitting twists and other similar motions can produce hazardous shearing pressures on the spine, face, and joints if done right away when you wake up before the tissues arrive at their ideal temperature for operation. The internal mobility is the answer. Perform a series of mild shoulder rotations. Expansions of the chest while marching in the doorway, supported ankle circles and squats, all carried out this routine before breakfast. Adheres to a physiologically sound development that initially strengthens the fundamental blood flow and body temperature to main muscles prior to a difficult joint. The order is important for ranges of motion, because it honors the way aging bodies function. Must gradually warm up and start methodically with seated, rotating your shoulders while holding your arms at your sides, unwinding and creating little circles that progressively get bigger. This activates the upper body for 30 seconds. Circulation without putting undue strain on the shoulder joints. Develop into sitting, alternately raising your knees while marching while occupying a rigid chair for 1 minute. Activates the core, stabilizes, raises blood flow in the lower body, and moves to chest enlargement in the doorway by standing in a doorway while holding your shoulders high on each side, followed by a gentle 30 seconds of forward leaning to avoid the forward stance that many seniors continue to grow with assistance. Squats while clinging to a sturdy object or counter chair with your knees bent just as cozy as possible for a minute. Causes your greatest muscles to contract body and promotes the rate of metabolism. Complete the seated ankle circles safely. Rotate your foot while extending one leg. 30 minutes of clockwise and anticlockwise seconds per foot to enhance the lower ankle mobility and circulation in the extremities. This is essential for preventing falls. Your joint health is mostly dictated based on your movements over the first half hour most seniors notice after waking up. Instantaneous morning improvements. Rigidity in the initial days of putting this sequence into practice. In 2 weeks, the total advantages usually include better posture and less discomfort. With regular tasks and heightened assurance in motion following a month of regular behavior, many people report notable functional enhancements in actions that have previously resulted in pain, like entering and exiting vehicles or grabbing for objects above. The mobility sequence has been the basis for my physical autonomy since my late 80s, which has enabled me to continue the household tasks that many of my peers gave up on. Protein a long time ago. Synchronizing the diet and exercise regimen to support muscular growth. Preserving the breakfast you consume tomorrow morning, either your muscular mass will increase or hasten its depletion by 23%, irrespective of the amount of protein you eat for the remainder of today. This research's findings were published in the Journal of Clinical Conventional Wisdom. Is challenged by nutrition dietary guidance that emphasizes overall everyday sums as opposed to strategic. In actuality, timing occurs when you consume. Protein is equally as important as the amount of you specifically cater to those over 70. 2's nutritional researchers, the Human Nutrition Center at the University on As We Age, we've learned that protein timing, not just quantity, is what counts. Whether elderly people keep their muscle mass or encounter quick sarcopenia after 60 years of age produces what researchers refer to as anabolic resistance, indicating a greater demand for both protein and, more specifically, protein that is timed consuming to increase muscle. Most elderly people's maintenance highest serving of protein during supper when the capacity of the organism to produce muscle is already becoming worse when consuming a breakfast high in carbohydrates and protein. The potential for synthesis is at its highest. A 91-year-old woman named Barbara offers a strong illustration of this idea in action that she had been going through for 2 years. Of waning power and rising weakness in spite of eating what she regarded as a nutritious diet. Her change occurred when she only altered the timing and manner of her consumption. She had been consuming a lot of protein. Toast, fruit, and typical breakfast coffee is a typical pattern that offers almost no assistance for aging muscles. Within months of putting appropriate, she reversed her strength by protein timing. Reduction and restoration of functional ability. She believed the usual way to senior breakfast produces harmful blood sugar variations that rise inflammation, hastens the loss of muscular mass, and impair mental abilities for the all-day. Beginning your day with foods high in carbohydrates cause an insulin response that genuinely prevents the capacity of your body to burn fat for the more critically over the next few hours. It does not supply the necessary amino acids required in the morning when your muscle cells are at their most sensitive to senior growth indicators. This lost chance is especially expensive because to the anabolic window. When do muscles get ready for protein? Each passing narrows the synthesis. 10 years, your body gets more selective in terms of when it reacts to consuming protein in the morning. Vitally important for muscle. This window's lack of preservation doesn't simply indicate that you're not gaining muscle. Indicates that you're consciously losing it the solution's accelerated rate is to eat a minimum of 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein within half an hour of finishing your morning. Mobility order of importance for Greek yogurt and eggs or a protein shake that has extra. This particular quantity of collagen is dependent on studies demonstrating that elderly people require around 30 grams of premium protein in one meal to combat aging associated resistance to anabolism and encourage the production of muscle proteins. Dispersing smaller quantities across the day is far less efficient than this potent morning medication. The following your mobility sequence. The timing is purposeful and grounded in science. Blood is raised by mild exercise. Flow to the muscles, preparing them for make better use of protein. For in real life, this could signify Greek cottage cheese and 2 eggs, yogurt combined with protein powder in or a whey-based smoothie, or collagen and plant protein, which offers certain amino acids that promote the health of your skin and joints. Vital to refrain from mixing this protein containing high glycemic carbs, such as sweet fruits or white bread, that can reduce the impact of muscle preservation on your everyday. The body's anabolic window opens. Don't waste tomorrow's dawn. Chance for cellular restoration and muscle preservation. The results of putting this protein timing into practice protocol are both instantaneous and progressing in a matter of days. For numerous elderly report feeling more energized all around the morning and a more robust appetite regulation with weeks' notice, increases in grip power and decreased weariness while performing daily tasks. 3 months of investigation shows quantifiable preservation or even gains in lean muscle mass in comparison to consistent drops in those who are keeping customary breakfast routines complied with this protein timing guide. Since the middle of the 1980s, I have been a devout help significantly for preserving functional strength that is far superior to what the most of my peers follow. Your path to extraordinary aging in these 5 morning health secrets aren't complicated behaviors or costly interventions. They are straightforward biological connections that respect the natural rhythms and functions of your body. With aging instead of against it process, I have remained independent. Not by remarkable measures, at 94, but by routine behaviors. Your body has the same exceptional ability to bounce back from setbacks at any age as long as you give the appropriate inputs at the appropriate morning times. Hours are your greatest asset. Possibility of biological optimization, establishing the course for your whole day and, eventually, the caliber of your every morning's aging experience provides a new opportunity to either support your natural repair and upkeep of the body procedures or to unintentionally operate the decision you make against them. Either tomorrow morning will help to your sustained health or to the slow decay that too many folks are experiencing. Acknowledge the power of things as inevitable. Habits are not complicated. Rather, in their constancy, tiny scientifically grounded acts carried out frequently bring about significant changes over time. The distinction between aging elegantly, independently, and frequently, people struggle through their waning years, boils down to these important. First, at certain times during the day, your future self is depending on the choices you make. Which of these behaviors will be present tomorrow morning? Will you begin by putting your journey into action? Outstanding aging starts with your upcoming dawn.